This is the Daily Roundup on the eArts Cambodia channel. A very good evening to you. I'm Andrew Barnes-Roberts. Making headlines tonight. The Prime Minister launches the 2021 National Interfaith Forum on Human Trafficking, asking everyone to pray also for the country's fight against COVID-19. While government ends its 3-week nationwide campaign against the virus, some restrictions remain in place in the capital, with a Delta outbreak investigated on Riverside. And dramatic footage of a storm tearing its way through a town in Bolivia. Prime Minister Hun Sen has called for a united global effort in the fight against human trafficking and COVID-19. The Prime Minister delivered a speech at 6 p.m. on Friday to mark the start of the annual National Interfaith Forum on combating human trafficking. This year, the Prime Minister urged everyone to pray for humanity, with human trafficking as well as the pandemic continuing side by side. Following the Prime Minister's speech, bells and drums rang out across the country. EAC News reporter Reo Soko has the story.
Drums and bells, the two main instruments signaling the celebration of the National Interfaith Forum on Combating Human Trafficking. It's an event that's been held every year in Cambodia since 2017. Held remotely this year due to COVID-19 restrictions on public gatherings, it was kicked off by the Prime Minister. In a speech addressed to His Majesty King Norodom Sihamuni, the Prime Minister asked all religious communities to unite in offering prayers to save humanity from human trafficking as well as COVID-19.
In 2021, the COVID-19 crisis continues to spread, while human trafficking and transnational crime are also on the rise, and opportunists take every opportunity to take advantage of this difficult situation. I, Your Majesty, understand that the Interfaith Forum must be organized in a new way to remind the people of all nations and religions in the Kingdom of Cambodia, as well as the people of the world, to change and adapt to this new path in this COVID-19 period, with a strong emphasis on humanitarian spirit, compassion, respect for life, and dignity of humanity, ethnicity, and religion. On behalf of the Royal Government of Cambodia, I, Your Majesty, am proud to maintain the harmony of all religions in the Kingdom of Cambodia through active cooperation, especially the persistent implementation of culture sharing during this difficult situation.
Prime Minister Hun Sen went on to call on all the kingdom's civil servants, institutions, national and international NGOs, civil society, the private sector, and all citizens to pray and commit to jointly eliminating the scourge of human trafficking. Minister of the Interior, Sar King, revealed in July that in the first 6 months of 2021, government intervened in over 100 more cases of human trafficking than when compared to the same period last year. In a Facebook post, he added that these activities included arranged illegal marriages and the illegal migration of workers abroad. Rhea Soko, EAC News.
It's now up to provinces to decide on their own COVID-19 restrictions. The Royal Government of Cambodia ended its 3-week nationwide campaign to strengthen measures against COVID-19 on Thursday evening. It says the campaign has been successful in reducing community transmission of the virus. So, while you can buy booze and have a massage again in most parts of the country, that is not the case in Phnom Penh. The curfew is over across the entire country, but Phnom Penh's alcohol ban and suspension of high-risk businesses will continue until at least next Friday. A decision will be made by the capital administration in the next few days as to when high-risk businesses can finally reopen. They've been closed since March. The problem is pop-ups of the Delta variant. On Friday morning, a section of Street 144 on Riverside was sealed off for 3 days after a Delta case was detected. Local residents must now self-isolate for 21 days. Delta cases have also popped up in Sensok, Troy Changva, and Mien Che this week. Across the country, Phra Vihear becomes the first province to introduce new measures after the end of the government's nationwide campaign. It has declared a red zone for the entire Chom Kasan district through Friday, the 3rd of September. Good news from the Health Ministry on Friday morning. The country's COVID-19 situation continues to stabilize, with lower deaths and recoveries outpacing new cases for a full 3 weeks now. 519 cases have been detected overnight. Of these, 185 are imported. They compare to 553 recoveries. Sadly, 15 more families are grieving the loss of loved ones this Friday. Their deaths take to 1,762, the country's total number of COVID-19 fatalities. Recoveries stand at 83,851. The kingdom's total number of cases has climbed to 88,242. Despite the ongoing COVID-19 situation in the kingdom, food prices remain stable. This is one of the key findings in a report released by the United Nations World Food Programme in partnership with the Agriculture Marketing Office in the Ministry of Agriculture, Forestry and Fisheries. It says the national average retail prices for most key food commodities have shown only small fluctuations in both rural and urban markets. EAC News reporter Reo Soko has the details.
The National Food Price Trend Analysis shows that since January last year, domestic food prices have remained pretty stable. They did start to increasing last March when the pandemic first started, but then dropped again in January, just before the February 20 community transmission event began. With border closures and preventative measures disrupting supply chains, most basic commodities are up compared to the same period last year. The report specifies the prices of duck eggs, snakehead fish, and vegetable oil, but the price of pork and rice have dropped. Despite the continuing impact of COVID-19, the report shows that Cambodia's aggregate statistics of trade and agricultural production remain favorable. Although ongoing preventative measures means customer traffic at markets continues to drop, especially in the capital. The World Bank has estimated that the kingdom's GDP growth contracted by 3.1% in 2020, but is expected to grow by 4% in 2021.
Lockdowns, curfew, closures of high-risk businesses and borders. These are just some of the preventative measures that have affected the Cambodian economy. But the government has been quick in providing aid, especially in its cash support program. The Cambodian economy remains resilient. Rhea Soko, EAC News, Phnom Penh.
For the first time ever, the Association of Southeast Asian Nations and the Mekong River Commission have held a water security dialogue. The two-day virtual meeting has been aimed at gathering solutions to address emerging challenges when it comes to water security in the region. The talks are expected to become a biennial event, with the next meeting already scheduled for 2023. The dialogue, which started on Thursday, is being built on the cooperation framework between ASEAN and the MRC, which aims to enhance expertise sharing and ensuring coordination for the better utilization of water and water-related resources. It serves as a platform to exchange novel ideas and identify possible areas for collaboration to further strengthen regional and local capacities in addressing water scarcity, water pollution, and water-related disaster risks such as floods and drought. The dialogue also includes interactive sessions with youth to stimulate discussions on youth-led, idea-driven advocacy for water security in the Mekong region. The Mekong River is one of the mightiest in Asia and is the world's 12th longest. It crosses through 6 countries: China, Myanmar, Laos, Thailand, Cambodia, and Vietnam. And climate change means water security can no longer be guaranteed within its catchment basin. Well, let's take a look now at news making headlines around the globe this Friday, the 20th of August. Afghanistan's Independence Day, celebrating its break from Britain in 1919, was marred by violence. Protesters took to the streets of more Afghan cities on Thursday as opposition to the Taliban spreads, with this group in the capital parading a long national flag through the streets. The flag has become a flashpoint for violence, with Afghans insisting that it, not the Taliban's, should remain the country's flag. Protesters have shouted, "Our nation, our flag," as they've marched in cities across the country just days after the Taliban takeover. They want assurance from the Taliban that they will not return to the brutal style of their previous rule between 1996 and 2001, when they severely restricted women's rights, staged public executions, and blew up ancient Buddhist statues. Over a dozen people have already been killed in scuffles over the flag nationwide. In the eastern town of Asadabad, several people were shot by the Taliban after tearing down its white flag in a city square. One struggling to maintain control. US forces fired tear gas and shots into the air to disperse crowds of Afghans at Hamid Karzai International Airport. The scenes at Kabul airport this week have focused the world's attention on whether countries have a duty to accept Afghans who are fleeing because of fear of persecution. The evacuation of Western citizens and Afghans who work for foreign governments continues. Dramatic footage out of Bolivia as a storm rips the roof off a local store and sends it careening into power lines. No one was injured, but a number of other buildings were badly damaged. Winter storms are not uncommon in Bolivia, but the intensity of this one caught many by surprise. There was even hail reported in several parts of the region. The storm conditions are expected to start easing going into the weekend. And the US Federal Trade Commission has refreshed its antitrust case against Facebook. It's added more detail on the accusation the social media company crushed or bought rivals. It's also once again asking a judge to force the social media giant to sell Instagram and WhatsApp. The expanded complaint effectively argues that Facebook is dominating the US personal social networking market. The FTC accuses Facebook of an illegal buy or bury scheme to crush competition. Facebook says it will continue to fight the lawsuit, describing it as meritless. It says its acquisitions of Instagram and WhatsApp were cleared many years ago and that its platform policies are lawful. All right, stay with the Daily Roundup. After the break, a look at your sports news. EAC News fully supports the Royal Government of Cambodia's preventative and administrative measures against COVID-19. But we need you to play your part in helping bring the 20 February community transmission event to an end. Wash your hands regularly, sanitize wherever possible. Keep an eye on your body temperature. Use the Stop COVID QR code and maintain a safe social distance. But above all, please, 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 wear a mask. Only together can we beat COVID-19. eArts Cambodia's audience is growing. Our YouTube channel now has 150,000 verified subscribers. To mark the milestone, we've received the Silver Creator Award from YouTube, given to channels with over 100,000 subscribers. YouTube CEO Susan Wojcicki says the award celebrates eArts Cambodia's hard work and incredible achievement. She says not only has eArts Cambodia brought a unique voice and style to the world, but has also created valuable connections and built a community along the way. The next milestone we're going for is 1 million subscribers, and we'd really like that Gold Creator Award. So if you're not already a subscriber, head to www.youtube.com/eArtsCambodia, Subscribers get all the latest breaking news and updates from Cambodia in English. We'll see you there. If it's happening and you need to know about it, you'll get it all right here. EAC News brings you updates and breaking news in English across all of eArts Cambodia's platforms and channels: YouTube, Facebook, Telegram, Twitter, and our website www.eartscambodia.com. Join me, Andrew Barnes-Roberts, and the rest of the EAC News team every day on your favorite channels. EAC News, Cambodia made clear. UEFA has announced its shortlist for the 2020-2021 Player of the Year Awards. The nominees were selected from voting by the 24 national teams that featured at Euro 2020, as well as 80 coaches of clubs that played in the group stages of UEFA's competitions. Journalists from each of UEFA's 55 member associations also cast ballots. Manchester City's Kevin De Bruyne and Chelsea pair N'Golo Kante and Jorginho are in the running for Male Player of the Year award after topping the shortlist. All featured in Euro 2020. This year's shortlist is the first to feature only midfielders for the men's title as well as the women's. That shortlist is comprised of 3 players, all from Barcelona: Jennifer Hermoso, Lika Martins and Alexia Putellas. The shortlist for Men's Coach of the Year features Champions League finalists Pep Guardiola of Manchester City, Thomas Tuchel of Chelsea, and Italy's Roberto Mancini. The Women's Team Coach of the Year has 2 men in the running, with Barcelona's Louis Cortez and Sweden's Peter Gerhansen up against Chelsea's Emma Hayes. The winners will be named on the 26th of August. Just weeks after Manny Pacquiao's match against Errol Spence Jr. was cancelled, Las Vegas has secured another big bout. Saul Canelo Alvarez will face Caleb Sweethands Plant for the undisputed super middleweight title in Las Vegas on the 6th of November.
Saul Canelo Alvarez!
Mexican Alvarez holds 3 168-pound titles, namely the WBC, WBA, and WBO belts. He's notched up 38 knockouts in his past 56 fights. He claimed his latest title when Billy Joe Saunders threw in the towel in the 8th round of their fight back in May. But American Plant is no pushover. He owns the 4th super middleweight title, the IBF belt. He's had 12 knockouts in 21 fights and remains undefeated. He successfully defended his title back in January with a unanimous decision over Caleb Truaz. Belarusian sprinter Kristina Szymanowska, who effectively defected during the Tokyo Olympics, says she plans to apply for Polish sporting citizenship so that she can run for the country. The 24-year-old sat down with the BBC in Warsaw. She says she hopes her application can be speeded up, as the process for sporting citizenship in Poland can take up to 3 years. Szymanowska was the biggest headline of the Tokyo 2020 Olympics. After criticizing her coaches on Instagram for not doing enough to combat doping, she was forcibly taken to the airport for a flight back to Belarus. After refusing to board, she fled to the Polish embassy in Tokyo and applied for asylum. She was due to fly directly to the country from Japan, but ended up flying to Poland via Vienna owing to concerns for her safety. She says Poland will now be her permanent home, and she wants to compete for the Polish national team as soon as possible. Let's take a look now at what the weather's up to for the start of your weekend. And finally, ending the week on the best news possible, the Museum of Ice Cream has opened its first international outlet in Singapore. Just $28 gets you free flow ice cream and a host of interactive exhibits. They're calling it your new happy place. And who could argue with that? A pond of sprinkles, some might call it a pond of pink eye, and all-you-can-eat ice cream, socially distanced, of course. The 60,000 square foot facility opened on Thursday following strict coronavirus guidelines, which include mandatory check-ins and vaccination certificates or a negative rapid test result. Singapore residents say it's a welcome break from the pandemic and great value for money. Head of Asia Pacific at Museum of Ice Cream Singapore, Pirakash T, says more international locations are being planned. We can only hope Phnom Penh gets in on the scoop. Thanks for watching the Daily Roundup here on the eArts Cambodia channel. More breaking news and updates from our website. Head to www.e-artscambodia.com. You can also search for EAC News on Telegram and at your favorite app store. More from the EAC News team in the weekly Roundup tomorrow night at 8. I will see you then.
Vaccine COVID-19